Good evening, I'm Andrew Chang.
And I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Tonight, solidarity protests escalate. More blockades stopping mass transit and causing mass confusion for commuters.
It's ridiculous what they're doing.
As pressure mounts for a solution.
A stark warning.
It's likely that this virus will cause a pandemic.
The coronavirus is spreading and health officials warn the world is not ready.
Looks like it's growing every day, so a little bit scary for sure.
Flights suspended, trips canceled. Should COVID-19 change your travel plans?
Abusing the power of attorney.
If you have a victim that has dementia, they may not remember even the incidents that are happening to them.
Who's watching over the person watching your money? This is The National.
Canada's national transportation crisis intensified today. New protests have sprung up while others persist, choking traffic by road, rail, and ship.
Late this afternoon, protesters descended on rail lines in Toronto, delaying tens of thousands of commuters traveling east and west of Canada's biggest city. The new protests appear to be payback for yesterday's move by Ontario police to clear out a key rail blockade in Tyendinaga. The retribution is widespread. In Toronto, these blockades stopped commuter trains. So did one in Hamilton. Despite yesterday's arrests, only one train has moved through Tyendinaga. Quebec has been dotted with protests. In northern BC, 14 people were arrested last night as police cleared a rail line there. And access to the Port of Vancouver was blocked until today.
So the movement of goods remains strangled and public inconvenience is escalating. Ali Chiasson spent the day going to blockades and got a taste of the frustration.
This train has been canceled.
Commuters are now tangled in this. First, a blockade along train tracks in Hamilton disrupted mass transit in the region.
I think it's ridiculous what they're doing, and they should stop immediately because it's not the right people to do this against.
Then in Toronto, just before rush hour, people set up camp on a major commuter line out of the city, plunging Toronto's Union Station into chaos.
This is my train here. There's no way I'm going to get on that train. I don't know who's responsible, but thanks.
I don't see how me having my day ruined would necessarily help them.
There's a really big difference between inconvenience and injustice, and I think what's happening with the Wet'suwet'en is so much bigger. What does it say to you that we have so many local Torontonians here in solidarity joining you?
I appreciate this and everyone's opinion here and for everyone supporting us.
This escalation is not isolated. More solidarity protests popped up across the country. People were arrested for blocking the Port of Vancouver, for blocking train tracks in Lennoxville, Quebec. Mohawks in Ganassadage have blocked the highway for the second day, near the very spot where the barricade stood during the 1990 Oka crisis.
We're hoping that the Sûreté de Quebec does not want to move in to Kahnawake. I think that's wise of them.
There's another highway protest in Caledonia, Ontario, which also has a history of land disputes.
If the OPP decide they want to come in and remove us, well, you know, if they want a reenactment of 2006, it's up to them.
Drivers can find an alternate route around them.
Put down your guns and join us.
It's a different story when you have people and their children sitting on train tracks.
And Ali is still by the tracks in Toronto. Can you tell us where things stand?
Well, the people on the tracks have been told by Toronto police that they face a $5,000 fine for trespassing. And aside from the 8 arrests that have been made, tonight has been relatively peaceful, but there is this familiar tension that's in the air where you have the local protesters watching the police to see what their next move is and vice versa.
Okay, Ali Chiasson, thanks very much.
All this adds up to an urgent political challenge for Justin Trudeau's government and a big opening for his opposition critics. So here's Catherine Cullen with some ministers under high pressure.
These blockades need to come down.
These barricades need to come down.
The time to end these blockades has come.
Insisting on it hasn't solved the problem.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
That work happening behind the closed doors of a cabinet meeting today. But if ministers made any significant progress, they kept it quiet.
More and more barricades being put up. I think Canadians see a situation that seems to be getting worse, and they want to know what, if anything, the federal government can do to address it.
Well, we can act as the federal government does, which is facilitate that open dialogue.
Talking with the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs is how the Liberals say this can all still come to a peaceful conclusion. But it certainly doesn't sound like a breakthrough is imminent.
Over the last few days, there has been some back and forth that has been modestly positive.
But one hereditary chief said this afternoon that no talks, no meeting or negotiations are planned for today or tomorrow. And what about the chief's condition that all RCMP officers leave Wet'suwet'en territory? The public safety minister seemed to shut that down.
The people that live in that territory, they're entitled to the service and the protection of a police service. And so we'll always provide that police service.
In order to keep essential supplies moving in the face of the blockades, CBC News has learned the government helped bring Canada's two largest rail companies together to agree to share their lines. But major economic pain continues, as does the criticism.
If this continues to happen, the business climate in this country will rival countries like Venezuela.
Does the Prime Minister realize that his weakness has caused this situation to spiral out of control?
The Liberals say it's not weakness to commit to reconciliation and dialogue, but right now, neither seems to be happening. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, to the coronavirus now. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control made it clear today an American outbreak is coming sooner or later as attention shifts from China to the explosive growth of COVID-19 infections elsewhere. Now, the number of confirmed cases surging in South Korea, but also outside Asia. In Iran, which reports about 100 cases so far, travelers from there now linked to new infections in Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE, and Oman. There are also new confirmations in Croatia, Austria, Switzerland, Spain. Many of those linked to Italy, where an outbreak seems to have gotten much more serious in just the space of days. Now, it is a nod to how the virus can slip past safeguards and why there's concern that the situation could quickly get worse. Christine Birak has more on a world watching and racing to protect itself.
The man repeatedly wiping sweat from his face is Iran's deputy health minister. After telling Iranians not to overreact to the spread of the coronavirus yesterday, he announced today he's tested positive for the infection and is now in isolation in hospital. Canadian researchers suggest Iran may be experiencing a significant COVID-19 epidemic. The study isn't peer-reviewed yet, but based on models, it estimates Iran may have up to 18,000 cases. The virus is now spreading well beyond China's borders, across Asia, in Europe, and the Middle East.
We sort of have to say, okay, maybe travel is not necessarily the best way to identify cases because there's just so much transmission globally.
A sentiment echoed by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Ultimately, we expect we will see community spread in this country.
It's now warning Americans to prepare for the worst.
I understand this whole situation may seem overwhelming and that disruption to everyday life may be severe. But these are things that people need to start thinking about now.
The CDC says communities should be thinking about school closures, businesses need telecommuting options for employees, and hospitals must expand telehealth services.
So we're in a different situation than the United States from an organizational perspective.
Canada's health minister says testing for the virus here has been more robust than in the U.S., but adds Canadians should be preparing as well.
Might mean that if someone is ill in their family, that people are isolated, that businesses may have to have contingency plans.
Tokyo 2020 is also thinking about contingency plans. Top Olympic official Dick Pound told the Associated Press the Games could be canceled if COVID-19 is not contained within the next 3 months. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Italy has more than 300 cases. That is by far the largest cluster in Europe, and it seemed to happen almost overnight. Renee Filipponi has gone to the heart of that outbreak, another population isolated, another town shut down.
It's another day in lockdown for tens of thousands of Italians cut off from the rest of the world. Friends on the outside try and help, dropping off supplies at the border for the people stuck behind it.
It's a strange situation, sure. I can't go outside, and it's complicated also to find all the material that we need, also food or drinks.
The police running checkpoints admit many aren't happy with the situation, but say it's necessary.
It's our job here for the population and here for the people. We stay here for their security.
Near one of the quarantine zones, a triage station has been set up outside the hospital to assess people with flu-like symptoms. This doctor says if they suspect someone has the coronavirus, they are taken through a separate entrance and immediately into an isolation ward. It's still unclear how the virus made it into Italy and why it spread from a handful of cases on Friday to hundreds now. But officials are working to show they are on top of it. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte meeting today with the country's top regional leaders. We are working with the best experts in virology, he says, in an attempt to reassure citizens. But the virus's reach continues to grow. Tourists from northern Italy have tested positive in other Italian cities and European countries like Spain. Italy doesn't want travel to and from this country to be shut down. The health minister met with his counterparts from bordering countries today. They signed a declaration to keep the borders open, saying to close them would be disproportionate and ineffective. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Milan, Italy.
So, new cases in more places. And today, Air Canada announced it is extending its suspension of flights to mainland China until April 10th. And as Jacqueline Hansen explains, the global spread has left some Canadian travelers and tour operators scrambling.
Experiencing the energy of Japan firsthand, we'll have to wait. For a group of high school students in Gatineau, Quebec, who were set to travel there on Friday. All the students had already packed their bags, she says. We were all ready. But out of precaution, the school board canceled the trip. In Japan, cases of COVID-19 are mounting, but Canadians can still travel there. The Canadian government recommends avoiding all non-essential travel to China, and it says some travelers should consider postponing trips to Iran, northern Italy, and South Korea. Other locations such as Hong Kong, Singapore, and Japan still have the green light, but that could change.
Before you book, just make sure you check. That would be the best advice I can give now, because this thing is a very dynamic situation. It changed by the hours.
Atlas Travel, which specializes in the Middle East and particularly Iran, cancellations are piling up, and travelers already in Iran want out.
Because of the coronavirus, they panic, they keep calling, and they want a flight to come back to Canada.
This is the major area of impact here.
G Adventures has called off all trips to China, but most of its travelers are changing plans rather than canceling outright.
There's a general fear around the place as this is spreading, but I think our clients are smart. I think they're making intelligent decisions that, maybe East Asia is not the place to go right now, and if that's the case, I can go somewhere else.
Still, travelers are on edge, even those who aren't going anywhere near the outbreaks.
You can't not think about it because, it looks like it's growing every day, so it's a little bit scary for sure.
A concern being felt by many as fear, not just the virus, spreads in an increasingly connected world. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
Global financial markets are also feeling the fear. Stocks slumped again today, piling on losses a day after U.S. markets suffered their biggest drop in 2 years as American health officials warned the spreading virus could lead to, quote, severe disruptions. Both the Dow and the S&P 500 dropped more than 3%, and Canada's main index, the TSX, had its worst day in nearly 5 years, shedding about 2%. So the CBC senior business correspondent has been watching all of this. Peter, Wall Street doesn't often flinch quite so spectacularly. Why this? Why now?
I think markets really got a sense of what the coronavirus might mean for global demand, for global supply chain, for global growth. And with that began the sell-off. And the interesting thing there wasn't just how steep the losses were, though they were, it's how broad they were. That, this wasn't just the tourism industry or the travel industry anymore. This was a broad sector-wide sell-off. And you brought up that chart showing what it's looked like over the last couple of days. I'd like to just put that into context and show over the last 12 months, let's look at those same three indexes, and you can see, especially since August, they were setting all new record highs all the time, and people were worried that maybe they had run too far and too long. So there are already concerns that maybe they should be giving something back in something of a correction. So that's what we'll watch for now. Has the sell-off ended and somebody will start to buy the dip, or is there yet more to come here?
Okay, up until this point, we've been talking about a global slowdown. How does this change that?
That's why the alarm bells are so strong. That, we were already worried about growth in China. This makes that worse. We were already looking at growth in the Eurozone. Now look at what's happening in Italy. The price of oil fell down below $50 a barrel, because if you're not going to fuel up as many trucks or as many ships to get as many goods to market, you're not going to need as much oil. So that's already hit an oil industry worldwide that's been just getting battered of late. And this is definitely going to make that worse too.
All right, Peter Armstrong, thanks very much.
You bet.
So markets are spooked, governments on alert. We have an all-star panel of infectious disease specialists who are going to help us put all of this risk in perspective and explain how prepared Canada really is. That's in about 10 minutes.
It is a big night on the U.S. presidential election calendar, the final Democratic debate before the Super Tuesday primaries. The stage was still full with candidates, but one has been breaking away from the pack, so naturally became tonight's target. Paul Hunter is watching for us. So, Paul, what stood out for you?
Well, all of a sudden, it's a feisty bunch. For the second straight debate, Democrats took each other on, head on, no holds barred, shouting, finger pointing, challenging each other, challenging some candidates. They're looking at you, Bernie Sanders, a lot.
Here are the 7 candidates.
No sooner had the debate begun than the gloves came off. Targeting Bernie Sanders, Democrats piled on. Elizabeth Warren on the Sanders plan for universal health care.
But Bernie's plan doesn't explain how to get there, doesn't show how we're going to get enough allies into it, and doesn't show enough about how we're going to pay for it.
Pete Buttigieg on, it seemed, the Sanders approach broadly.
Imagine spending the better part of 2020 with Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. Think about what that will be like for this country.
That they would go after Sanders is no surprise. He and his Democratic Socialist proposals are leading the polls nationally, but many Democrats worry that too many Americans reject such stuff, and that a Sanders candidacy would be a serious problem.
Can anybody in this room imagine moderate Republicans going over and voting for him?
None of it lost on Sanders.
I'm hearing my name mentioned a little bit tonight.
Who countered the way he has countered, pledging to raise the minimum wage, free college-level education for all, and the big one.
And finally, doing what every other major country on earth does, guaranteeing health care to all people.
To be sure, it wasn't always about Sanders, but it was clear every candidate knows they have to make a move.
I'm not out of time. You spoke over time, and I'm going to talk.
And so also, coming under attack, the newcomer, New York billionaire Mike Bloomberg, tonight, accused by Warren of once urging a pregnant employee to kill it.
Never said it. Period. End of story. Look, categorically never said it.
All of it a reminder, stakes are extra high because time's running out for candidates to make their case. On Saturday, it's the South Carolina primary, where Biden and Sanders are running neck and neck right now. But then, with barely time in between even to breathe, 3 days later, Super Tuesday. Nearly half the country votes for their pick to take on Trump. So by late Tuesday, we should all have a good idea of where this is going. No wonder tonight the gloves were off. Adrian.
All right, Paul, thanks very much.
Well, Harvey Weinstein awaits his sentence as his accusers speak out.
I'm not shaming myself anymore because the shame belongs with him.
Up next, a guilty verdict, a personal victory, and their hopes for the future of the Me Too movement.
She was concerned about the will as well.
A cautionary tale and a warning for seniors about the power of attorney.
She wanted you
to take $75,000 in cash from her accounts?
More than that.
And his wild ride continues. More star treatment for the Canadian Zamboni goalie. We're back in 2. A day after Harvey Weinstein was found guilty of 2 felony sex crimes, his accusers are once again speaking out. But this time their tone is triumphant. Steven D'Souza has the reaction and what it means for Me Too.
Harvey Weinstein's conviction on charges of a criminal sex act and third-degree rape was the result of the accusations of just 2 women.
Hi, good morning.
For the dozens of his other accusers who will never see their day in court, they say it was also their moment of justice.
If somebody is powerful with the resources, the unlimited resources that Harvey Weinstein has, can be brought to justice, anybody can.
It's a moment they never thought possible and a victory that's incredibly personal.
In my mind, I am no longer trapped in a hotel room with Harvey Weinstein forever because I am here now with all these fierce women. I'm not shaming myself anymore because the shame belongs with him.
Weinstein was convicted of a criminal sex act against Miriam Haley. Today, she spoke out.
It was just a huge sense of relief, just a relief that the jury got it, that they believed me, and that I was heard.
The former movie mogul is in custody until sentencing, but was taken to hospital last night, reportedly for heart palpitations and high blood pressure.
Maybe he's experiencing a panic attack, something all of us have experienced for decades after his abuse.
Meanwhile, Weinstein's lead attorney, Donna Rotuno, continued to criticize the Me Too movement, saying the deck was stacked against Weinstein from the beginning, and the women in this case had a choice.
At some point, if you are saying, I want this career and I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to have that career, then at some point that is a choice that you're making.
These women say they hope the verdict ushers in a new era where the justice system holds men accountable.
Maybe the criminal justice system is catching up with the cultural shift that we've seen in the last 2 years.
With Weinstein facing sexual assault charges in Los Angeles, the women who spoke today say the former mogul's long road to accountability is far from over. Steven D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Here are some of the other stories we're watching across Canada tonight.
I would like to unreservedly apologize for my actions.
After insisting for years that she did nothing wrong, Ontario Senator Lynn Beyak now says she regrets the harm she caused with past remarks about Canada's Indigenous people. She has a record of making offensive statements, including praising the residential school system and posting racist letters on her website. She was suspended and sent to anti-racism training last fall. In Ontario, couriers for a popular food delivery app have won the right to unionize. The Labour Board ruling sets a major precedent for other workers in the so-called gig economy. Foodora couriers voted last year on whether to join the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, but the results were still sealed pending this decision. And the fairy tale continues for the former Zamboni driver turned NHL goalie David Ayres. That is the 42-year-old ringing the goal siren as he kicked off tonight's Carolina Hurricanes game, just hours after the mayor of Raleigh declared it David Ayres Day. This follows a whirlwind few days for the Whitby, Ontario native, filled with nonstop interviews and several high-profile TV appearances.
When I put my gear on, I went on the ice. My only thought was, let's go out there and save some pucks. And after that, it kind of took off. When I got off the ice, it hasn't stopped.
On Saturday, Ayres became the only emergency goalie to register an official win in the National Hockey League and the oldest goalie to win in their NHL debut.
Okay, up next, the doctors are here to answer our questions about the coronavirus. With new concerns of a pandemic, new warnings, new travel advisories, we look at how to be smart, not scared, in the conversation about this outbreak.
And later, the legal challenge of protecting the elderly from the wrong power of attorney. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Health officials around the world faced questions today about how ready they are for the coronavirus, from Geneva to Washington to Ottawa.
as the virus has spread internationally, and countries are now finding themselves in circumstances that just a week ago they weren't. What it indicates to us is that the spread is happening, and that we must be prepared in Canada.
So Canada's health minister acknowledging how global the virus is truly becoming, and she said there's a renewed focus on shoring up defenses here against an outbreak. So let's talk about it. Joining us, a team of infectious disease specialists. Dr. Susie Hoda is Medical Director of Infection Prevention and Control at Toronto's University Health Network. Dr. Isaac Bogosh is an infectious disease specialist, also with UHN. And Dr. Alison McGeer, a microbiologist and infectious disease consultant at the Sinai Health Network, also someone who was on the front lines of the SARS outbreak in 2003. Hello to all three of you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us back.
We have seen a shift in tone over the last little while when we start talking about the gravity of this outbreak. Dr. Bogosh, how has your own level of concern changed over the last couple of days or even weeks?
Yeah, certainly over the last 4 or 5 days, we really saw a pivot in this epidemic, and we saw a shift towards most of the burden of disease in East Asia and Southeast Asia. And now, of course, we have cases in Iran, and looks like there's more and more exported cases from Iran and more cases in Europe. So we're really starting to see the more global spread of this infection. And now we're really shifting gears and looking more into preparedness and mitigation strategies, and we're well beyond, containment strategies.
Right, and there is the sense of inevitability. I mean, you use the word epidemic. Of course, the word pandemic is being floated around, and the question being, at what point does this constitute a pandemic? So this kind of uncontained global spread. Let's listen to a clip. So this is a doctor from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control talking about this very thing.
Now, it's not so much a question of if this will happen anymore, but rather more a question of exactly when this will happen and how many people in this country will become infected and how many of those will develop severe or more complicated disease.
So, Dr. McGeer, that's the point that we're at now. It's not a question of whether this gets bad, it's how bad?
That's entirely the point. I mean, I think what we've been watching this gradual progression over the last 3 weeks of containment strategies failing. We've been learning more about the characteristics of the virus that tell us why these strategies are going to fail. And I think you're still watching people using delaying tactics. And one of the really difficult things for governments in the next few weeks is going to be how much is that delay worth, right? You can shut down Milan, and if that buys the world a week, is that worth having or not having? And those decisions about balancing spread of this virus against economic and health consequences associated with restrictions are going to be very difficult.
So then, Dr. Hoda, I mean, how prepared is Canada on the domestic front? If we set containment aside, it's going to come here in larger numbers. And then by extension, how concerned should Canadians be?
I think we've had this lead time to actually work on preparedness. So that's the advantage we've had. There have been few cases here, and we've been focusing on this and trying to anticipate that the next stage would be we have to be prepared potentially for a pandemic.
And what does domestic preparation look like?
So within hospitals, we have some things that we focus on, making sure that we can detect cases really well, that we have access to testing, and that's something that we need to be thinking more about is how do we actually revise the way that we do things so that we have that access to testing and we can detect things well.
To be able to test people on a large scale?
Exactly, expand on that. And the other things is, can we isolate people well, and do we have the protocols in place for clinically managing people who are requiring hospital care with this infection, as well as others? So do we have the capacity to actually deal with this? And the supplies, the people required to care for those who are sick, as well as, the physical space.
Dr. Bogosh, on the question of whether a person can be sick without knowing it. So, according to Chinese researchers, there's a case of a woman from Wuhan who managed to infect 5 of her family members. She never showed symptoms of being sick. What do you read into that?
I think an important way to frame this is there might be many people who are infected with this virus who are either not sick or mildly ill, but really not sick enough to seek health care, not sick enough to see a physician, not sick enough to get a diagnostic test so that they know they have this infection. And if there's a large burden of these individuals, if there's a large number of people who are, infected, but again, not sick enough to seek health care, they're never really detected, and they won't isolate themselves, and they can really contribute to the transmission of this infection in a community.
So isn't that quite alarming, though, then? Because when you look at the number of confirmed cases in any given country, that maybe that is just a sliver of the true number.
I mean, certainly the number of detected cases is probably the tip of the iceberg, and there probably are a lot of other global cases around that just either haven't been diagnosed for several different reasons. And this is what makes this infection challenging. I should point out that there's a lot of other respiratory viruses and other infections where people can shed the infection and only have very mild symptoms and sometimes no symptoms whatsoever. So that's not uncommon for many infections, but certainly in this situation, that's a challenge because it's hard to identify people, and this is why we're seeing this large global spread of the infection now.
What do we know, Dr. McGeer, about how sick most people who do get infected with COVID-19 end up getting?
Well, so the first thing we know is that most people don't get that sick. So based on current estimates, it's only about 1 in 5 people who get this infection who get seriously ill with it, and then a smaller fraction of that who don't recover from it. But as Dr. Bogosh has just pointed out, there's probably a lot more people who have even milder infections. So
who haven't reported because they feel mostly healthy.
Well, either because they don't feel ill or because in the setting of, we're only 6 weeks into this. As Dr. Hoda pointed out, there's not enough lab tests. You can't test everybody. So you're going to preferentially test the people who are sicker and need to be in the hospital. So there's almost certainly this large group of people who are less ill, and that is actually a critical difference, because if there's a large enough number of those people, then what we're facing is not so bad. Might just be, the equivalent of an influenza season. Okay?
You would go that far, that to say, hey, at the end of the day, this could be on par with flu?
It could be. I think I'm waffling between, the hope that this is not going to be worse than flu, and the concern that this might be worse than a bad flu season, because so far, the case fatality rate is looking higher than flu, but one of the problems is we still don't know that. So we still really don't know how bad this is going to be.
Now, of course, all of this is happening as many Canadians are getting ready for March break, maybe we're even making summer travel plans. Should we be rethinking those plans? And are there sort of practical precautions we should be taking? We're going to be right back with the answers to some of those very questions after a short break. Don't go anywhere. Okay, hey there. We are back with our infectious disease specialists, Dr. Susie Hoda, Dr. Isaac Bogosh, and Dr. Allison McGeer. And we wanted to talk about travel. So let's say I've got a trip planned to Italy, let's say, where there are hundreds of confirmed cases. What is the advice you would give to someone about whether they should go?
Well, I think part of it has to do with what's happening now, what's happening potentially in the future. It depends on when you're traveling, and really understanding what's happening locally in the area that you're going to. So, there are different pockets that are kind of hot spots in different parts of the country that you should be aware of. But ultimately, we don't really know how things are going to evolve in the next couple of weeks, let alone tomorrow, in some areas. So it's about your individual risk threshold to make that decision.
But would you, Dr. McGeer, would you be concerned about a trip all the way in the summer or all the way in the fall? Can you even forecast that far ahead?
I think it's too early to forecast that far ahead. I do think that people need to hold on to that, even if this is a more severe infection, there's still risks. There's risks to living, there's risks to traveling, and you need to take those into account when you're thinking about it. I think the additional risks that you need to worry about at the moment is perhaps less getting infected with the virus than getting stuck in some kind of travel restriction or quarantine, because people are still working on measures to mitigate. By the summer, that's probably going to be over. So it's really about, the question of what kind of risks are you going to take. If you go rock climbing for holidays, you're pretty safe going anywhere, okay?
Right. Maybe that's the bigger threat.
Because that's a bigger threat. So, so I think people need to be, I think there's this tremendous tendency to think, I just need to stay home. because something awful might be out there. But this is going to be everywhere. Right. And people, you need to work a little bit, I think, at getting past the initial fear and concern about things being worse in foreign places, and think more about how you're feeling about the risk and what the real risk is relative to other things in your life.
So China seems to be an exception to that, where you have this advice from the federal government that folks should avoid non-essential travel to a place like that, and that is the epicenter, of course, of the outbreak. If you're considering a country, say something like I don't know, Singapore, Thailand, Australia, around the UK, where you have only a small handful of confirmed cases, do you think differently about that sort of a place?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the key things is also just to stay up to date. I mean, there's Health Canada has wonderful resources on their webpage, and there's travel advisories posted on the webpage. So I think, as this epidemic or pandemic or whatever we're going to call it starts to play out and affect different places, there may be some shifts or changes in policies, both in Canada and in other countries as well, that may impact people's travel. So I think it's important for people to stay up to date and be aware of what these are.
If you do go, is there a precaution that you can take? I mean, there's no vaccine, there's no shot, but is there something you can do?
I mean, essentially, people should be very vigilant about hand hygiene. I mean, we know that despite this being a different infection than the flu, the recommendations are still the same. Wash your hands, stay home if you're sick. If you're coughing and sneezing, cough and sneeze into your arm, not into your hands. So, I mean, the general recommendations are still the same.
All right. To the three of you, always good to get your insights. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Next, should seniors have more protection when they appoint a power of attorney?
If you have a victim that has dementia, they may not remember even the incidents that are happening to them.
Who is watching the person watching over your money?
And Whitney Houston returns to the stage as a hologram tonight. We're back after the break.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's daily news podcast Front Burner, what really killed Alberta's tech frontier mine? A former energy exec and an environmentalist hash it out. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. It is a sad truth that elderly people in declining mental health can struggle to make decisions. So it's not unusual for them to appoint a power of attorney to act on their behalf. But sometimes the person trusted to protect ends up taking advantage. And as Aaron Saltzman tells us, cases like this can be really hard to prosecute.
Christine Fisher is a widow, a veteran of the Second World War. She was 94 years old when a woman named Teresa Gardner offered to help her out.
She would pick her up and they would go for groceries and go for dinner one night a week or go see a movie or something.
Nancy Lewis says her friend Chrissy was in the early stages of dementia. She says Fisher had known Gardner years ago, but they weren't close. Yet Fisher named Gardner her power of attorney, giving her complete access to her finances. In April 2018, Gardner wrote a check to herself from Fisher's account for $20,000. 1 month later, another check to cash for another $20,000. 2 months after that, a third check, this time for $38,000. Teresa Gardner wouldn't go on camera, but on the phone, she told us Christine Fisher wanted her to take the money.
Mrs. Fisher wanted me to. She wanted to change her will and leave me everything.
She wanted you to take $75,000 in cash from her accounts?
More than that.
More than that.
Yeah.
But when Nancy Lewis checked Fisher's room at her retirement home, she found dozens of handwritten notes.
Urgent. Teresa Gardner has my bank card. Teresa Gardner has to be stopped from getting control of all my banking accounts.
Fisher is now 97 years old. CBC News chose not to interview her on camera for this story. We asked her banks, BMO and RBC, how someone, even a power of attorney, would be allowed to withdraw so much money in such a short amount of time. Both banks refused to comment, citing client confidentiality and privacy. Last July, police charged Gardner with 6 counts of theft. But in November, the Crown withdrew those charges when Gardner agreed to pay $20,000 in restitution. There was no admission of liability. The Crown says it is duty-bound to withdraw the charges if there is no reasonable prospect of conviction. The head of the Canadian Bar Association's Elder Law section says in disputes involving powers of attorney, it's not uncommon for a main witness to be unable to testify.
If you have a victim that has dementia or is in a phase of Alzheimer's, they may not remember even the incidents that are happening to them.
Often, she says, these types of cases end up in civil court.
She was concerned about the will as well.
Nancy Lewis says that's now likely a question for her. She is Christine Fisher's new power of attorney. Aaron Saltzman, CBC News, Prescott, Ontario.
Among the international stories we're following tonight, violent clashes have left at least 10 people dead in India's capital. That is part of 2 days of unrest, which erupted in parts of New Delhi between hundreds of supporters and opponents of a controversial new citizenship law. At least 150 people have been injured. These clashes have come during U.S. President Donald Trump's first official visit to the country. And former Egyptian leader Hosni Mubarak has died. He ruled that country for nearly 30 years until he was ousted and jailed during the Arab Spring of 2011. Mubarak spent most of his final years in a hospital while fighting legal battles over corruption charges. According to state TV, he died after undergoing surgery. He was 91. And some spectacular images coming from Mexico. That is where a famed volcano erupted this morning, sending lava, rocks, and ash into the clear night sky. This is one of Mexico's most active volcanoes. It stands more than 17,000 feet high. It is the 5th largest in North America.
Well, this being Shrove Tuesday, chances are pancakes were on some Canadian menus, but in Windsor, Ontario, it was break out the ponchkis.
Now you have a reason to eat this many calories and nobody judges you.
Fair enough. Our moment heads to a bakery where on this day, customers park their diets at the door. But first, in case you missed it, 8 years after her death, Whitney Houston is back as a hologram. She's been digitally resurrected and tonight began touring in England. The company behind the show is bringing back other stars as well, like Buddy Holly and Roy Orbison.
And we believe that this is a truly new form of entertainment for people in a way to experience artists as closely as possible without actually being there with the actual artist.
But these tours certainly are not for everyone. After the Houston hologram appeared on British television, there were some complaints online that it was creepy and disrespectful. It is worth noting, though, Whitney Houston's estate does support the tour, and it's coming to North America. Dates to be announced soon.
Well, depending on where you live and what you believe, you know it as Shrove Tuesday or Fat Tuesday, the day you bust out the pancake recipes. But in Windsor, Ontario, it is ponchki that's king. Deep fried, I am so hungry reading this, deep fried, cream-filled, or jelly-packed. To local residents, this Polish treat is a visit to pastry heaven, if you will, even if it means a long wait at the bakery. And that is our moment.
Got a lot of sugar here. This is like Black Friday. It's our single most busiest day of the year. We make a filled donut year round, but Punchki Day we only make punchkis.
I come here every year, Shrove Tuesday, beginning of Lent, so we like to get our punchkis and celebrate before we enter into the Lenten season.
Our highest one I think is 102 dozen for one order. Every time we think we're ahead, we seem to fall behind. People wait in line for a half an hour just waiting for their donuts because, you know, we can't get them out fast enough. I'm very Polish traditional. Prune glazed is my absolute favorite.
Now you have a reason to eat this many calories and nobody judges you.
I see. I like it.
I have never had a. Have you ever had one of
No,
these?
but I am willing, in the name of research, Big J journalism, to go figure
You'll
that
take
out
one for the team.
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Okay.
So what we do know is that you heard them talk about working, long hours
it's a
to
big
get this
deal.
done. So normally they have 20 employees. They worked around the clock. They had to bring in family and friends because they knew people would be lining up for hours.
Wow.
We were not there. That is a national for February 25th. Good night.
Good night.